Good morning. Let's take a look at some of yesterday's matches in what was a tough day. Just couldn't get going. Arsenal against Tottenham. Well, we did have a go in the variable profit Dutching correct score. That's something I'll be looking at with you over a number of matches. It will solve the 0-2 problem we have when we take out our insurance. Let me show you Tottenham and Arsenal. Well, Mikel Arteta loves a 0-2, so I had to include that this season. It's the ideal scoreline, isn't it? Your opponent can't score and you've got a 2-goal buffer. That's why you got a consecutive 0-2s at the start of the season. I did cover the 0-1. I thought Arsenal would be the better of the two sides. We had 0-0, break even, 1-1, break even. So we got all the dangerous scorelines covered. And at 0-1, we had the very next goal covered as well. If Arsenal scored it, we'd be doubling our money. If Tottenham scored it, we would break even. I wouldn't have expected Tottenham to go on and make it 2-1. So that's the thing you have to look at with variable profit Dutching on the correct score market. How many correct scores do we cover while still being able to make a profit if one of our favoured scorelines is hit? I do like this kind of way of doing it. You can negate the dangerous scorelines. So that's something for us to look at as we move on throughout the season. We can. I'm afraid the only way really to do variable profit Dutching is with specialist software, unless you want to do a Google search of a variable profit Dutching calculator. The Staking Machine has one for free as well. But this is an excellent technique. You can pretty much break even on the scorelines which are dangerous for you and load up on your favoured scorelines in what is a tight North London derby, of course. Wolves and Newcastle, in hindsight, Wolves potentially gettable, considering they conceded those 6 goals against Chelsea, so they are vulnerable. Newcastle, very good performance, I must say, but not. I didn't have a very strong, ultra strong opinion on this Newcastle side, but we can start seeing early season potential problems ahead for Wolverhampton Wanderers. French Ligue 1. Well, the only match I would have looked at would have been Rennes-Montpellier to see whether the market got it right. And the market did get it right. There was no trade there yesterday. Strasbourg and Angers. If Angers scored first, that would be a potential trade. No, Strasbourg scored first. Nothing much else doing in French League. Augsburg and St. Pauli. The simplest option I offered to you in the live chat webinar was to simply lay the draw. Again, we're targeting a newly promoted side. We've also got, so that's your first thing, newly promoted side away from home could be vulnerable. Second thing is to look at the reaction from the Bundesliga side. And it was brilliant. 18 shots, 18 goal attempts, 10 shots on target, 8 off, and 7 corners. You could have gone variable profit Dutching with this one. 1-0, 2-0 Augsburg covering the St. Pauli 1-1 perhaps, or St. Pauli 0-1. But this is the problem. If you go with the 2-0 scoreline, and it arrives after 67 minutes, you're going to get a bit worried then, because there's quite a lot of time, 23 minutes, for them to potentially score another goal. So that is the negative element there. But at 2-1, if you covered the 2-1 with a break even, well, you'd have been scuppered by that 3-1 unless you cashed out. So that's the negative element of variable profit Dutching. I think it's best done in tight matches where you favour one side, i.e. that North London derby. Nice late entry. Well, if you can cover that 0-0, cover that 0-1, and see all of the problematic scorelines, it could be one to pursue variable profit Dutching. We can always keep our stakes to an amount that we need. Mainz and Werder Bremen, well, pretty much summed up Sunday, didn't it? The red-carded side go on and win. Italian Serie A was very difficult yesterday. It was a watching brief Atalanta-Fiorentina. Fiorentina Second consecutive 2-2 could be gettable for Fiorentina, as indeed it was yesterday with that 3-2 Atalanta win. Genoa equalised late, but didn't have an opinion. Emphatic performance from Napoli. Was it first half or second half performance? Let's have a look. Because you'd expect Cagliari to keep it tight, and indeed they did. Only 0-1 in the first half, but really emphatic performance from Napoli, starting to get back into their stride. Or is this just the fact they've met a weak side? Monza against Inter Milan. If you were up late, and I'm afraid I was asleep by then, got a nice equaliser late on for the champions last season. And this is another typical pre-Champions League performance. And don't forget, Sundays we'll see Champions League sides on now. We have Thursday Champions League football. In the Eredivisie yesterday, nothing much doing at all. And La Liga looked like a lot of red cards there yesterday. Again, I was strong on this one, but Celta Vigo far too efficient again, which was a pity. Barcelona continued their excellent form. This is another emphatic sign, given the fact not only were they red carded, there's also pre-Champions League, post-international. So very emphatic signal there from Barcelona that this could be their season. Atletico Bilbao, you'd have subtly fancied throughout, but at no real stage were they worried. They were 0-2 up by half-time, which is where I initially lost my interest. The red card, 56th minute, that looks to be tied into the red card. So it must have been a free kick at the edge of the box, something like that. But with the right side, and this was with a lot of matches yesterday. I called it right. Atletico Bilbao, Celta Vigo, Rennes, but they all scored first and took emphatic leads by half-time. So that's what made for a frustrating Sunday. Atletico Madrid will be delighted with this performance pre-Champions League as well, playing on Thursday. Again, a nice configuration I like here. A newly promoted side away from home, playing a strong favourite. So you know what to expect. But if this lot score first, you can have a degree of confidence that you can take on any beer shot lead. So these are the kind of matches I like. And again, my hands are tied. Charleroi far too efficient. Gent and Mechelen. Was the red card the catalyst for the change here? No, it wasn't. Already 2-0 up. Another example of a strong favourite yesterday delivering. That's what we faced the vast majority of the day. Matches I like, teams I like, but performing far too efficiently for us to get a trading angle in. Another newly promoted side, targetable, but West Brom took them to town. So again, just stick that in your notebook. Portsmouth could be vulnerable this season, particularly when their opponent is below evens. So look out for that. Another match I like to target, but yet again, we couldn't get a trade out of it. And that, as you can see, is the running story from yesterday. Hertha Berlin and Dusseldorf was a losing call from me, and I think you can tell me why it was a losing call or why I shouldn't have got involved. There are two reasons why I shouldn't have got involved. Reason number one, Dusseldorf are newly relegated, meaning they've played in the Bundesliga itself for quite a few seasons and could find some of these secondary teams in the Bundesliga vie to their liking, as indeed was the case. Reason number one for not getting involved. Reason number two, 2.38 the favourite. Okay? My mistake. So I'll take the hit on that. And again, done by that 0-2, as you can see. Now, if you go variable profit Dutching, that could cover the 0-2. But it was a bad call on my part. This is why I keep telling you about 2.38 the favourite. I was tempted in by the in-play stats here. Although they don't look that compelling here, they were more compelling on my stats feed for a possible Hertha Berlin equaliser. But it's a recipe for disaster if you get involved in these matches. 2.38, 2.4 the favourite. They're very tough to read, very tough to call. Okay? So a lesson learnt for me, and the best lessons are learnt when they hit you in the pocket, alas. So I won't be doing that again. 2.38 the favourite, taking on a newly relegated side as well. Not a good idea. And this kind of typified Sunday. We did it all right with Porto previously, getting a goal, one short price favourites. But Olympiacos, this is what you face pre-European club competition. And here again, look, PAOK Thessaloniki couldn't get a goal. This is the problem we have on this Saturday and Sunday. Post-international, pre-European club competition, you're going to get. How many of these 0-0s did we see this weekend? How many 1-0 defeats did we see this weekend for Champions League sides? No coincidence. That's one which kind of got away. I did focus on it in the live stream. Why? Because Sassuolo are newly relegated. So once they start showing something, stats-wise, Sassuolo, pay attention. That's what I was looking for when they started it. So you can see 5 shots on target. No corners, but 5 shots on target. They started bossing the second half. Kept Carrarese out. So we could have laid that draw second half, favouring Sassuolo. Newly relegated. This is the kind of result you'd expect of a newly relegated side, having played top tier for a number of seasons. So that's one which went, well, I didn't profit from, but should have profited from. And it's vitally important when you've had a losing trade early on that you grab these opportunities, which I should have. And a reminder of the vagaries of going into these lower tier leagues. Another one of those 0-2s late on. But I think it was at 0-2 I got involved here, because Sarpsborg were dominating the stats and looked as if they would equalise. So despite the late 0-2, I did lay Kristiansund very, very short odds for about a £6 liability. So as you can see, 9 minutes remaining, the odds would have been very short. But this lot were dominating prior to that goal. That's why I got involved there. Keep your liability low if you do these speculative ones, and it tends to be a speculative Sunday, doesn't it? Saturday, we've got all the marquee clubs, the marquee names, and they can be relied upon. But here, we're heading off to Hertha Berlin, Djurgården, Fatih Karagümrük. I mean, typical Sunday football, really. Sarpsborg, another. Keep your liability low if they don't bite, and they didn't. I hope you got on the Porto one. Quite simple, lay the draw. Once they started hitting it 100 plus in the attacking pressure index. Went from 1-1 to 2-1 very quickly, and a nice lay the draw. Again, some important profit returned, particularly if you've had a loss earlier on in the session. Victoria Guimaraes, was it the red card that changed this match? Let's have a look. Indeed it was. No, they scored before the red card. Headbutting. Wow. I would have favoured Braga yesterday, and it would have been very, very unlucky had I got a trade on and then the red card arrived. Oh, ouch. That's the kind of Sunday luck, or lack of. Well, on to today, and from a typical Sunday coupon to a typical Monday coupon. Newly promoted Parma are at home to Udinese, so a bit of a watching brief here. They are actually inserted as favourites, Parma, which is very interesting. Not much I can add to that. Lazio, well, as you can see, I've starred them. The market has them as odds-on favourite. We'll see. Verona did have an impressive win against Napoli, but that's the height of their season to date. Verona, the market's suggesting they may be not expecting that today. Nice 3-0 home win against Napoli and a 2-0 win against Genoa. So they can do it. They lost to Juve. I'm not sure if Lazio are on the same level as Juventus. A good 2-2 for Lazio against AC Milan at home. 3 goals against newly promoted Venezia, but an unexpected 2-1 defeat to Udinese just puts a dampener on this one. So be watching it with interest. It's one of those matches to target. I like 1.5 to 1.7 favourites at home. Target that possibly later. Parma, always have in the back of your mind that they are newly promoted and could be vulnerable late on. Wait for the match to unpack. Don't forget Udinese had that horrible run of draws last season, so they might still be attracting draws this season. We've got an odds-on favourite in the Danish Super League at 6 o'clock. Nordland 1.73 favourite against Randers. If you want to have a quick check of the form of Nordland and Randers, FC Stats would be the best place and the quickest place to check by bringing up the match, Nordland and Randers, and just looking at Nordland's home form this season, head-to-heads, and Randers away form. So you can find that at the challenge table at the base here. As you can see, Nordland look very strong at home, tendency to score 2+ goals as well. Could all go well for them today. They have, on 2 occasions, though, conceded 2 goals against top 5, and they're playing 6th today. So, interesting. Randers, only 3 matches away from home, a couple of score draws against teams above Nordland in the league, and a 2-3 win against Vejle. So, it looks finely poised, doesn't it? It's not a match I've got a ready handle on, but I will star it. 1.7 home favourite. Fredericia I've starred because they do have goals in them, like OB Odense. So for me, that could hint the possibility of it's 0-0 after 15-20 minutes. Back over 2.5 goals and hope that Fred start igniting. Birmingham and Wrexham, still early in League One's season. Wrexham are newly promoted and therefore should be on your watch list to potentially target. The impressive start to League One for Wrexham, unbeaten and scoring 2+ goals in each of the last 3 matches, so they've got something to them. Birmingham scored and conceded in the last 2 matches, one of them in the EFL Trophy, but in League One, again, they're scoring and conceding in League One as well, but tending to win. So this could be a both teams to score match today. I would perhaps caution you to go over 2.5 goals. And again, look for the potential for that delay. If you can get 15 or 20 minutes out to the market at 0-0, over 2.5 goals can nearly double. So watch out for that. Don't forget, we're only dealing with a very, very small sample of matches. So we can't be hugely confident. But it looks as if both teams to score is a possible play, and that automatically, because that's 2 goals, that brings in the over 2.5 goal play. Talking of over 2.5 goals, perhaps targetable in the Professional Development League later on today, and the Premier League Cup. These are really good over 2.5 goal competitions. French Ligue 2, perhaps not worthy of our attention today. 2.5 the favourite. Greek Super League. Can AEK Athens take advantage of Olympiacos failing to score as a 1.17 favourite? So we're expecting 3-0, 3-1, any other home score for AEK Athens today, and at least a goal before half time. So if it's 0-0 after 20 minutes, you might want to look at backing 1-0, 2-0, any unquoted in the half time score market. Again, talking of over 2.5 goal leagues, tendency with the Dutch Eerste Divisie is for over 2.5 goals. So I might have some fun with this evening if I can stay up for the match. See if we can solve the over 2.5 goal problem, perhaps focus on odds on favourites at home. Be interesting. I tend to do an over 2.5 goal and both teams to score accumulator for the Eerste Divisie. Would have to be with the bookmakers, alas. Norwegian Obos-Ligaen, not going to get much attention today, but we do have 4 odds on favourites, which again gives us something to work with. But this is the kind of league where the league leader loses, I think, what was it, 0-4 to a side just outside the relegation zone while at home. So I think you get the idea with the Norwegian Obos-Ligaen. But we've got 2 very strong odds on favourites, should automatically catch your eye later on. Antalyaspor, strong favourite at home, 1.5 to 1.7. I like that. So I will pay that attention at 6 o'clock. Stick it on your shortlist. If Adana Demirspor score first, then you can just have a quick look at seasonal form and see if Antalyaspor have the ability to come back. So those are the main matches today. It was a losing match. Losing yesterday. It could have been near break even, I think, had I stayed up for the Inter Milan. I think I would have made a nice profit laying Monza late on against Inter Milan, who've got the late equaliser. So add that to the Porto profit, and I think I would have eaten into some of that Hertha Berlin and Djurgården loss yesterday. So It was a day full of promise Sunday, but all of the red hot favourites who were very trustworthy, very readable, all scored first and were emphatic winners by half time. So my hands were really tied yesterday, which was a real pity because it had the potential to be a very solid day. And that's where you end up suddenly with the likes of Fatih Karagümrük, Djurgården and Hertha. But with Hertha, as you can see, had I kept my discipline, 2.38 the favourite, I would not have got involved. Also, newly relegated sides can be difficult to take on because they've been playing in that top flight for so long. Have a great Monday. I might see you on Telegram. It is my day off, but I might see you on Telegram. I do like the look of some of these early kickoffs. And as ever, if I'm online, I might as well pass it on. Have a great day and see you for the Champions League tomorrow.